Welcome back to the 21 Convention 2019 Patriarch Edition of Orlando, Florida. Your next speaker is a very good personal friend of mine. I've gotten to know him for a couple years now. Since 2017, when he first took the 21 Convention stage at our 10-year anniversary in Orlando, Florida, about 20 minutes up the road. This speaker is the Chief Patriarch, the keynote speaker of this event. He is the genesis, the foundation for why it even exists, or one of the major pillars of it. He's also the founder of the Family Alpha and the co-founder of the Fraternity of Excellence. This guy is the ultimate badass red pill father that I know. This guy owns fatherhood like no one else, and he has some serious competition. Without further ado, please help me welcome Hunter Drew to the stage. That kicks mess. You got it.
All right, I'm Hunter Drew, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because this isn't about me. This is about us. And before I dive any further into that, I want to give some recognition to the man who put this on, Anthony Johnson. It's not one of those things you do because it's the proper etiquette. He invites you, you call him out. No, this is a man who, as Socrates has said so eloquently, is very, very single. This man, stories. This man is putting on a convention for fathers, for fatherhood, for patriarchy. Not because he's a father, not because he's a patriarch with lineage under him, but because he knows there's a need for it, because he understands that there's a cry for it, because he understands that there are men out there who are having an impact on future. He always says, the future's masculine. Well, how do you make the future masculine? You lead them to it. Fathers create that. The patriarch creates that. So I want to give a round of applause to Anthony for putting on the most badass patriarch event ever that's ever been put on. So thanks, man. Whoever said the more you do this, the easier it gets is a fucking liar. Being on this stage, man, it's wild. But let's dive into why we're here, why you're here. This is about you. I understand there's a lot going on. I understand we have the meet and greet. I get it. You see these guys that you see online, the personalities, you're like, oh, what's up, it's that guy. Oh, what's up, it's that guy. That doesn't matter. You're here for you. You're here to do work. You're not here just to mingle. You're not here just to grow your network. You're here to get some notes that you can apply to your life so you can make some changes to improve yourself. Whether you are where you want to be and you want to get better, or you're not where you want to be and you want to start finding out ways to get there. You're here for a reason. Don't forget that. This isn't just a hangout. This isn't just let's get together, high five, and do our thing. We're here to do work as men, as patriarchs, as leaders of our clans. That is what we do. This is about you. So when you're here, understand you have an opportunity to make a difference in your life. You have an opportunity to bring your family to where it is you want them to go. It's about you. Don't ever forget that. While you're here and having those dinners, don't leave a question unasked. Don't leave a conversation unhad. If you want to challenge someone on their points, go ahead and have that conversation. You have one opportunity. You are here. Take advantage of it. That's why we're here. You guys came here for a reason. Do not forget your why. At some point, you bought the ticket, you made the commitment because there was something that drove you to that point. Hang on to that why, especially when you get caught up in there's so much going on, like the taking knowledge from a fire hose. There's going to be a lot happening, but you're here for a reason. You need to hang on to that. You need to ensure that that itch is scratched by the end of this week, and it's on you to make it happen. We can't give you a magic pill, the red pill, take it. Life is great. That's not how it works. You've got to do work. You've got to find out and come up with a game plan to do work. The mantra I live my life by is acta non verba, which is deeds, not words. You want to be a great father. Everybody wants to have a great family. You want your son to do well. You want your daughter to do well. What are you doing to make that happen? That's what you have to ask yourself, because it's on you. It's on every single man in here to make that happen. As you're taking notes, don't just take the notes of, hey, that's cool, he said this, here's a cool quote. How am I going to apply this to my life? How am I going to actually use this knowledge? It's about the application, the action. Stop talking about how you want to be a great dad and be a great dad. Be a present father in your child's life. Stop saying you want these things and make them happen. Live that life. Don't wish it into existence. There are 15-ish speakers. I think it's 15. There are over 100 of you. You make a bigger impact than we ever could. We're already pushing this message. We're already living this life. But you have the opportunity to join us on this front. We are that wall. We are the ones putting the sound out there. We're sending the signal. We're lighting our beacons. We're saying, hey, it's okay to be a man. Hey, here's how you can be feminine. Here's how you can embrace the masculine. There's 100 of you. You have such a larger impact than I'll ever have. I am one man. You're 100 being released. Imagine one of you in each of your towns spreading that, lighting that beacon. All of a sudden, our entire nation starts to light up. The globe starts to light up because you're out there doing something. It's not enough to want it. You have to do. And each of you is required on your end to fulfill your commitment. I joined this convention. I appreciate Anthony giving the opportunity for it to be about family. That's my thing. It's been my thing since 2015. That's awesome. I'm living my life. Your side of it, you joined for a reason. It's not just to hear me speak or to hear these men speak. We've got a great lineup of gentlemen who will be taking the stage and dropping some excellent knowledge on you. But that is not why you're here. You hear it, then you go home and you fulfill your end. I'm not giving you my time because that's cool. I'm giving you my time because I know on the other end, you're going to go forward and do something with it. So don't disappoint all the guys up here who are putting themselves out there for you. Follow that up. It's on you as much as it is myself. There is a sea of children out there who are lost in a dark world. We have sons who are shooting up schools. We have daughters who are living through Instagram because that's where they get their validation, because nobody taught them better. Sons who are committing suicide because dad keeps telling them to do it this way, and they keep doing it this way, but this way doesn't fucking work. You've got to break the cycle. You've got to teach your children about the harsh reality which we exist in and teach them how to thrive in it. Teach them that it's okay to express who it is you are. And it's not one of those, hey, go be yourself, but truly be your fucking self. My son takes pride in his muscles. He's always talking about his mustache coming in. My daughter loves art and all things beautiful. And I'm not saying, hey, daughter, you need to go play football because that's what the boys are doing. You need to go do what these boys do to prove you can hang with the men. Why is it not okay for her to be a little woman? Why are we facing a society where anything masculine is challenged as something being bad? Where are the fathers who are saying, no, not my son? There we go. One man put his hand up. That's where the fathers are. Listen, that's you. You're the wall. You're the only chance these children have. In this dark world, as Ivan Throne puts it, it is a dark world that we live in. And our children are lost, and they're grabbing onto anything they can identify with. And guess what? Fathers aren't around. Fathers aren't present. Fathers are always trying to relax. So somebody else takes them. If you're not going to instill the values and morals in your children, somebody else will. And when that person does, they may instill something you don't like. But guess what? It's already been embedded in them. They've already instilled what they want that child to do. You know what you should do? You should live through anything that supports the big message. Mainstream media, follow us, like what we like, and you'll be popular. Daughters, if you get 15 likes to your new profile photo, you should probably kill yourself because you should have gotten 30. That's the fucking world we live in. It's fucked up. But our daughters are in that position, our sons are in that position, and the only people who can change that is you. And I hope you understand the severity of what it is I'm saying to you. That responsibility lays squarely on your shoulders. If you're not willing to man up, you do not get to say, I want the good life. You don't deserve it. This is a round table. This convention is a round table, and we're all peers having these discussions, looking each other in the eyes, sharing and swapping notes, saying, this is what works for me. What works for you? Hey, I tried this and it didn't work. How did you figure it out? Could you help me? I've got as much to learn as all of you. Every single one of you can teach me something, and hopefully I can bring something to the table for yourself. That's what this is, a meeting of peers, a meeting of patriarchs sitting at the table saying, hey, enough is enough. What are we going to do because we're losing ground? We have literal skin in this game. Nobody else has any incentive to ensure that our future is bright. They can watch the world burn. We don't have that opportunity. We have flesh and blood that rely on us. We have literal skin in this game, and it is on you to ensure that you're protecting it. You're setting the example for it to follow, because your children will follow your example, not your advice. You've got to live the message. It's not good enough to say you should read books. You've got to read books in front of them. You should work out. You've got to work out in front of them. You should play sports. You should take pride. You should stand up for yourself. You've got to do the same thing. If your entire life is based on being passive and trying to be the man you think people will like, as opposed to being who it is you are and standing your ground when people challenge that, your children will do the same. They're not going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to do exactly what it is they see you doing. And unfortunately, too many fathers right now aren't doing what they need to do. And that's why we're here, to start having this discussion. Because maybe you are on point. Maybe you are dialed in, and you're here because you just want to sharpen that sword. You want to ensure that you're with other like-minded men, just to get the camaraderie. This shouldn't be a special event. This should be the norm. This should be happening in neighborhoods. You should be having your weekly meetings, maybe your monthly meetings at the town hall or whatever hall that you have in your club. That should be a normal thing for men to have, but unfortunately, in this day and age, that's not how it works. We're living in a time where everybody is just split and fractured, and everybody's doing their own thing, and that's death to men. We're social creatures. We need other men, which is why we come together like this. Build this in your home. A lot of the men in your lives, they don't have a Hunter Drew. They don't have a 21 Con. They don't have all the men you're going to see up here to help them. You've got to leave here being that voice of every single one of us for those men. Every single note you take, every single piece of knowledge you learn, you take that all, you bring it home, and you are the culmination of all of us up here. Because the whole is better than all the sum of the parts. It's the group that makes us strong. And you're an entire group. You're a fucking fortress, and you've got to bring that and build that in other people's minds. Some people will push back. Some people will find that very uncomfortable because you're changing and you're doing things that are out of the norm, aren't expected, aren't socially acceptable at this point. But you keep doing it, and you don't back down. Because you know what's right. You know in your heart of hearts what the right thing to do is. And it's not always the easy thing. It's easy to get along right now. It's easy to be comfortable. I believe it was Ryan Stone who said this is the first time in man's history that you've got to intentionally be uncomfortable. You've got to go out of your way to feel discomfort. Think about that. But here we are having uncomfortable discussions. Last night at the meet and greet, several conversations that I had were uncomfortable. We were talking about things that are like, wow, like, how do we handle this? How do we deal with that? That should be the norm again. You should be having those conversations with your neighbors, with your community, with your children. When's the last time you asked your kid how their day was and actually listened? When's the last time you all sat down at a meal for a week straight? You had dinner together every single night? It's on you. What are you doing to ensure that these children in the dark world who are so desperately wanting something to connect with and some reason take pride in themselves, they've got their torch up. Where's your flame? Are you able to bring that energy? Are you able to bring that fire to their torch so they can light it up and all of a sudden, hey, I can see. This is a dark world, but I can see. My eyes have been opened. I see what's going on. I see the strings. And when you see the strings behind the curtain, you see the old man behind the curtain, guess what? The fire and the big head and the Wizard of Oz is not so scary because you see what's going on. Somebody's just messing with you. Give your children that gift. Give them that sight. Light that torch. My last speech was called The Flame of Freedom. And I spoke about how we needed to light these fires inside our fellow man. Because only a man who is lit and walking through the dark world can light the flame of another. So we opened their eyes. We lit their torches. And they led their sons and their daughters to greater places. And after that speech, you started getting messages, hey, relationships never been better. Hey, my son is all of a sudden doing so well in this, and my daughter's achieving this. That's real world change. Sometimes we get caught up in we're just going to have these talks on Twitter, we're going to have these conversations. No, we're going to actually change things. We're going to change the landscape. The things you do, the ripples from this event going forward, we've got 3 days together. And that's going to expand the horizon because you're going to go home and you're like, you know what, we're done doing this laziness. We're going to do the right thing here. We're going to have these uncomfortable things, and your children are going to pass that on to their friends. Your son's friend is going to ask his dad, hey, why don't you work out with me? And the dad's going to be embarrassed. Or maybe he won't care, but hopefully he'll be embarrassed. So you know what, you're right. And now that dad's working out. Guess what? That friend's friend. And that's how it spreads. We have these conversations. We live in a world where it is dark, yet we are not going out. We're not allowing our fires to be extinguished. But that's on you, and that's hard fucking work. But you're here. You've taken the first step. This is the hardest step, is showing up. The hardest lift in the gym, opening the door, getting in there. You're here. Make sure you came here for a reason. Hang on to that why. This was the hardest thing you could have done. It'll be more difficult for you to go home and not do the right thing and not maintain these connections and not do what it is you know is right. Because in the back of your mind, you've seen the wizard. And you're trying to believe in the Oz. You're trying to believe in it, but you know that you see the strings and you can't unsee that. And that's why we're here. And that's why I'm dedicating the time I am to this. My son, he plays baseball. He told me that he wants his walkout song to be Thunder from Imagine Dragons. I was like, cool, whatever, never heard of it. I listened to it, and because the way I think and the things we talk about, what it is I write about, I'm like, the lightning and the thunder. That's what this is. This is the lightning. This is the flash in the pan of your life. However old you are, whether you have a family, whether you're going to have a family, whether you're preparing yourself, you're the single dad and you just get the kids part-time, it doesn't matter what your life situation is. Right now, you're having a flash in that pan of how many years you've been alive. That's cool. You get to see it. You get to learn. So for 3 days, we're the lightning. You're the thunder. That's what's going to roll deep. That's what's going to make the sound that people are going to hear. That's what's going to expand the horizon and go over the fields. That's what's going to actually make a difference. This conversation is great. I enjoy doing this with each of you. But as I look at each of you, I realize this is how I live my life. Are you ready to do the same? You've got to raise your standard and your level of performance, in your understanding and education of your children, your involvement in their life. I understand the burden. It is heavy, but that is what we do as men. We do hard things. We embrace that, and we go forward with it. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. You say you're a king, show me. You say you deserve a good life, show me. It's not enough to want these things. That's not how the world works. So I'll wrap this one up with challenging each of you that as you go through these days, and this is why I'm really pumped that Anthony allowed me to have an intro, heading forward, for every speaker, make sure you have actionable advice taken. What are you going to do with the information given to you by the man who takes this stage? What are you going to do with the man to your left and to your right when they give you information and you look over and you say, hey, how did you do this? Hey, I'm trying to build that. How were you able to bridge this gap? Hey, I'm having trouble with this. You've got an opportunity to open up. And I understand we live in a world where it's difficult for men to speak to men because we don't do it that often. We're so spread out. But the beauty of this thing is we're not confined to proximity any longer. We've come together. Learn to speak to men like men. Have those discussions. Look them in the eyes and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I want to be better. Can you help me? The opportunity will close. The window is open. The lightning is flashing. And it's going to close. And there's going to be thunder for many of you. But those who don't ask the questions and take that opportunity to network, to build bonds, to get contact information, to keep each other accountable, if you don't do that, this was a waste. It was a waste of your time, your money, my money, and everything else this entire thing's for. You're a disgrace to it if you don't leave here with action. Don't disgrace the name of 21Con. Don't disgrace the name of all these speakers. You are now an example of what it is we do. If you leave here and make zero change, that means this place does nothing. And that's not how it works. Write down your notes. Have the conversations. Get over your ego and I'm an introvert, I'm shy. Get over it. Talk to people if you need to talk to them. Have the conversations. Look at the collection of men you have. This is wild. This is not normal for people to come together to speak in the way that we are speaking and to cover the subjects that we are covering. Yet here we are. You guys took the step. You took the actions. Let's go. That's all I have.